I never would have imagined that the whole line from Endeavor saying, "Just watch me," would hold so much significance to Todoroki's family, not just the general public.
私がオリジン
Okay, so there is probably going to be a lot of people misinterpreting the Todoroki mother scene when it comes to the flower. So I quickly want to dive into that before I get into anything else, because it's a very important part of this chapter that kind of shows how Endeavor's, character arc is going right now, and if he truly should be redeemed. So to get right into it, basically, the mother starts saying that she doesn't think that Endeavor has just tossed them away, threw them out into the trash, for instance, Shoto or, Todoroki's mother or the children, any of the other children. She says he has not done it. He has not forgotten about us. He hasn't thrown us to the side and just continued to move forward and forgotten about everything. The reason why is because she's like, in the past, when I first met him, when we got in a relationship, I told him what flower I liked, and I only told him once. That's what she says to her, children. And basically what that line means is that she never had to remind him multiple times. Like, for instance, okay, first match, like, hey, I like this flower, I like roses. And then, maybe a couple years later, she's like, I like roses. And then, a couple weeks later, I like roses. She didn't have to keep saying she liked roses. He remembered since the first time that she said something to Endeavor, he remembered it. And basically, she's like, he doesn't forget even minor details. Even something very insignificant or something very small, he holds on to, and he doesn't forget about it. And it also shows that he hasn't forgotten about Todoroki's mother in terms of what she likes. So he's not someone that moves forward and forgets the past. So it shows that he is not as bad of a guy as we all assumed. He is not a good person by any means, but he is not 100% scumbag because of him being able to at the very least remember. And also another thing too is apparently he does deliver flowers to Rei a little bit every so often. He does deliver flowers for her. She doesn't get to see him. She doesn't see him. She doesn't really want to see him at the moment, and basically the doctors say you shouldn't see him, but at the very least he is delivering her flowers, which shows that he is consistently remembering what has happened in his past and is not trying to just brush under the rug and act like it didn't happen. So this goes into the next big segment, which I talked about in my last chapter review, and I guess it's very relevant in this chapter as well. It's once again established, if you forgot, with the beginning of this chapter, that the Todoroki family, they all have had heinous things done to them by Endeavor. They all have their complicated circumstances, and the information that was given to us in this chapter, or reminded us of, is that nobody knows about what Endeavor did 10 years ago. Nobody knows how heinous he was, what he did to Rei, what he did to Shoto, what he did to any of his children. Nobody knows. The only people that know anything is Endeavor and the Todoroki family. That's it. And basically this chapter wanted to let us know that this information is very critical, and it would definitely be harmful in the wrong hands. Now let's go with something. Let's go with a theory that's circulated for a very long time in the community of My Hero Academia, and let's talk about it and how it's kind of relevant with this scene in the chapter. So, as we know, the League of Villains are not just an organization that wants to kill heroes. There's a lot more to it. Shigaraki's objective is to literally remove society from what it was. For instance, kind of demolish Hero Society and make it to where people don't always just smile and think they're safe. He wants them to wake up and realize how the world truly is. And in this case, ever since the beginning, it's always been about ideals, or, changing how people view Hero Society. That was the whole meaning or message of the All for One versus All Might fight. It was two pillars going up against each other that had their own thoughts on how the public should be viewing certain individuals. For instance, the Hero Society or Villain Society, they had their own things that they were fighting for. And basically, we have seen throughout the series that Hero Society, it's very flawed. It has a lot of good things, but it has a lot of bad things. The society does create villains. We have seen this firsthand, that it has created monsters within the society. And so because of that, we know it's not perfect. But no society or any civilization is perfect. There's always flaws. That's a given. But the point is that the entire point of the series has been showing us, the readers and the audience, if you watch the anime, how flawed Hero Society is. At the same time, we don't agree with a lot of things, but at the same time, it is the best option we have for the time being until a new system is put in place. And the villain side, for the most part, the main objective has always been about tearing down Hero Society. Now, as we know, with All Might's fall from grace, basically, him, not being the number one hero anymore, and the pillar just snapping, the number one hero is not there to make it to where villains don't want to uprise. Villains, stay in the shadows. He didn't have a record all-time, peace now. Like, that's no longer a thing anymore. Villains are starting to rise back up. Old shadows are emerging to be able to do whatever heinous crap they want to do. And so that's the effects of All Might being removed as the number one hero. And it had a critical blow to Hero Society because of that. And now Endeavor has to take and pick up the mantle. He has to pick up the mantle and carry the weight of being the number one hero. I've talked about this as soon as he became the official number one. That's a lot of burden that he has on his shoulders. He might not become the symbol of peace. He might become the symbol of strength or whatever. He could be an entirely different symbol, but he holds a lot of weight on his shoulders. He is guiding Hero Society. That's his role. Or at the very least, he's guiding Hero Society in Japan. And if the information about his past was to come to light, and what he did to his family, which, like I said, and how this chapter even stated it once again, that nobody knows, only the family, if that past was to come to light, it would ruin him. It would easily ruin Endeavor. He would fall, and the number one hero would be gone. He would be completely discredited. He might even be thrown in prison, or, questioned by police and all of that because of what he did. And it would be perfect for the League of Villains if that did happen, because they want to crush Hero Society. They want to completely just destroy the very foundation of it. So what better way to destroy Hero Society is by removing the new number one hero of Japan. Sounds perfect to me. If I was a villain, that's what I would do. If I knew some of the heinous stuff he did, I would target that and reveal that to the public. Now, many are saying, okay, so how is this relevant? How are they going to find out about it? Well, there's a couple of things you can get from this chapter. Either A, one of Todoroki's family members, for instance, that we saw in this chapter, are going to reveal to the public about what Endeavor did. Or B, another thing that can happen is that Dabi could potentially be Todoroki's sibling. Now, this is something that has been theorized for a while now. Ever since Dabi's introduction, many have talked about Dabi as potentially being the brother of Todoroki. It's not something that is uncommon. I think by now, many of you, if you're manga readers, you probably have heard this theory here or there, somewhere on the internet. And so, it's probably not the first time you heard someone talking about it. The point is, though, Dabi could potentially be a brother to Todoroki, which means that he would know the truth of Endeavor, which would be the reason why he's a part of the villains, because he doesn't like society, and also the reason why he follows Stain's ideals, and why he was interested in joining the League of Villains, is because Stain's ideals, Stain hates someone like Endeavor the most. He really hates someone like Endeavor. So someone like Dabi that followed Stain's ideals, it fits perfectly with hating his father, or if his father pushed him into that state. And that is something you could also think about. Another thing, too, is that Dabi might not be his real name. It could be an entirely different name. He could have a different name that we don't know of, and that's basically the point. And so, if he was, let's say, to be Todoroki's actual brother and Endeavor's son, he could go to the public, reveal himself, and they would know the truth about what Endeavor did. And obviously, they might not believe it instantly, but you would have news reporters and all of that going out of their way to investigate. You know it's going to happen, because juicy money. That's just how it is. They're like, money, 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 money. That's how it is. That's just how society is in general. News reporters and all that, they eat that crap up. They want to make money. They want to get anything they can, so they'll invade someone's personal privacy just to be able to get a news story. So if something like that came out, any form of leak like that, obviously they're going to investigate. And so that means that they would go and try to track down Todoroki's mother, which would be in an asylum, and, all that would lead to a lot of issues. So even if Todoroki's mother never said anything, even if news reporters found out, it wouldn't matter. They could spin the story however they want, and it would make Endeavor look really bad, and many would agree with Dabi. And even if, like, for instance, like I said, Todoroki's mother and the two siblings that we saw in this chapter don't say anything, the point is that Endeavor would probably be questioned by all of his fans, the general public, the media, everything, to answer for what is done, to give his statement or viewpoint on whatever happened. And most likely, knowing Endeavor, he might say the truth. And it even is stated in this chapter, he doesn't go on many talk shows at all. He doesn't like talk shows, which I feel like is foreshadowing for something in the future. Think about it like this, okay? There is a lot of things you see nowadays in current media to where something happens, drama or whatever, you have a talk show happen with someone. Like, okay, so let's say someone gets into a lot of trouble. They say something really horrible. They'll go on to a talk show to explain themselves. I feel like that may be what happens to Endeavor. He might get in some trouble, he'll go to a talk show, and he will explain everything that happened, which will make him look even worse or better in someone's eyes. But that's the point. I feel like that was some critical foreshadowing by Horikoshi. So we'll see where that goes. But that's pretty much the main point of that scene, and there's not really much else, which I already kind of talked about this in my last chapter review, so forgive me if you didn't want to hear kind of more details on that, but basically that was the point of the first part of the chapter. Now, the next part of the chapter, which is pretty much the entirety of the fight between Endeavor and High-End, it's very simple, and in all honesty, this chapter is incredibly short. Like, you can read through this chapter in a couple minutes, honestly, or less than a couple minutes, about 2 minutes, maybe 3 at max. It's incredibly short, but that does not mean it's a bad chapter by any means. No, it doesn't. It's a very high-quality chapter because of High-End and what he's actually capable of, and a little bit of questions we get from the chapter. But before I get into the nitty-gritty of Endeavor versus High-End, I want to talk about Hawk. So, I talked about this in my last chapter review, that maybe Hawk can individually control his feathers. I said he might have some form of telekinesis or something, and that theory does turn out to be somewhat true with this chapter. Hawk is able to detach each individual little feather from his wings and control them individually to do what he wants, which, oh my god. Like, it was already impressive what he did in the last chapter and all that, how he was able to just save people and, not really even looking like he paid attention, he was just very observant. But now seeing how he was able to individually control these feathers and save like over 70 people, it proves that this man definitely deserves his spot of being the number 2 hero. It's common sense after looking at this chapter. But, going one step further, also the man, it has to take a lot of brain power, a lot of focus to do what he did in this chapter. You gotta imagine, okay? It's already difficult enough for some people to multitask, like doing 1 or 2 things at once, or sometimes even 3. But this man was multitasking 70 plus different ways. That is freaking ridiculous. Imagine multitasking 70 things at once. I know for a fact you can't do that, okay? Don't even lie, okay? Get out of here saying you can do that, okay? If you can, prove it, but make a video. But the point is that what Hawk did, his brain power, his focus, and being observant like he is scary. The man is pretty strong. He may not be like in-game level, like strength-wise, like powerhouse-wise, like Endeavor, or All For One, or All Might, or even Izuku in the future, but he is incredibly versatile. He can definitely do a lot of different things with his quirk and save a lot of people. But there also is a critical limit that was established in this chapter. He has to give up his wings, his feathers, to be able to save people. So technically, the more people he tries to save at once, that means that his ability to fly is gone. Which fits in with the Icarus theory that many have been talking about recently, basically saying that, Icarus will fall and all that to the ground. I feel like that is foreshadowing, basically. There's going to come a point where he's going to use all of his feathers, and it's going to be too much, and then it's going to cause irreversible damage to his body or something, because we don't really know his flaws. He has to have some form of weaknesses with his quirk. It's very apparent from the way he uses his quirk that it's not just an OP quirk for the sake of being OP. Like, if we're going what All For One would normally say, like if he was trying to steal someone's quirk, he's like, your quirk is strong, but it's because of your experience and how you've trained with it. And that's why it's so strong. For instance, what Best Jeanist did. What Best Jeanist did when he saved everybody when All For One attacked, it was because Best Jeanist, even though his quirk looks very strong, it wouldn't normally be like that if he didn't utilize it in different, unique ways. And so, if you don't put enough effort into it and try to figure out ways to strengthen it or make it even more useful, then it's not really going to be good for an average individual. So, basically, All For One's like, if I was to snatch it, I would never be able to use it like you, because I don't want to put that much time and effort or years into work and, training just to be able to use one quirk. So Hawk, obviously, his quirk isn't necessarily strong. It's just a very useful quirk because he has trained with it so much that he's got to this point, which shows his skill as a hero to be able to be the number 2 hero of Japan. But yeah, that's something I wanted to point out. Now let's talk about High-End and Endeavor. So High-End, demonstrates he has high regenerative abilities. He's able to regenerate like that. And now I wasn't able to really comprehend a certain panel. Endeavor did say he carbonized, the body of High End. Basically, what he did is he fried him to the point where his cells couldn't regenerate. That's what he did in the past to another Nomu. He hit him so hard that basically his cells wouldn't, come back to life again. That's basically what he did. And that's what he said in this chapter. He carbonized, High End. But I didn't understand the way the panel was done. I believe the way it looked like maybe him trying to carbonize the cells of this High End Nomu. It didn't work at all. That means that his regenerative capabilities are so high that not even carbonizing and killing the cells will stop the regeneration. Which, that's scary. Yeah, that's pretty freaking scary. So this man has obviously more speed and power than Endeavor. That's what Endeavor even says. So this man is way beyond Endeavor, but Endeavor's going to have to try and go all in. He's the #1 hero, and the destructive capabilities of this villain is pretty insane too. I mean, he cut a building pretty much in half, so says a lot. But anyways, Endeavor. Also, we get to see a few cool little things about his quirk. #1, he's able to hover in the air. And he's not necessarily flying. He's more along the lines of just keeping him in the air. Like, he's just hitting so much fire underneath him, like combusting his fire, to where he's able to just not fall. And so it's not like he can fly higher, it's the fact that he's able to just hover and stay in the air because of the way he's kicking his fire down. And so as long as if he stays in a high altitude and all that, he can just stay in that, as long as if he keeps using his quirk, which that takes a lot of focus, mental fortitude to be able to do something like that. So Endeavor, by no means, is someone that just is all brute when it comes to his strength. He definitely can think and concentrate about what he needs to do, and multitask as well. Then on top of that, when High End was pushing him back, he also used his flames to actually hold the pressure of being shoved back. Like, you can see the flames extend out of Endeavor's back, which was him trying to slow down the velocity of him as he was being pushed through the building. He didn't use it in the middle of the building, because if he would have, it would have killed the civilians, obviously. So, he didn't do it until he left the building and he was outside of it, and he used all of his fire force to be able to hold back High End to where he wouldn't be pushed back any further. So, that's really cool. I like seeing that from Endeavor, showcasing that he also is able to manipulate the fire out of his back to where he will not be pushed. He's fighting against the pressure of High End. But once again, it was also stated that High End is a lot stronger than Endeavor. So, this is a pretty insane match right now, especially since the man got cut up, sliced, and diced by Endeavor like lasers, flame lasers, and the man was completely fine. High End was just smiling and happy. So, definitely not going to be an easy fight by any means. So, I'm looking forward to the upcoming chapters. Endeavor's fight is, pretty exciting. I'm really liking this Endeavor arc right now. Even though, like I've said, I won't probably forgive Endeavor for all the heinous crap he did, I do like this redemption arc. It's a pretty fascinating arc because you don't normally see characters that's done so many horrendous things in the past, like Endeavor, and the author tries to humanize him, but also try to redeem him. And I do hope that this redemption arc is done really well. I'm looking forward to it, but we'll see where it goes. So let me know your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoy my content, please subscribe. If you like this video, please leave a like. And if you want to get notified for when I upload a video, please click the bell icon down below. And with that, Chibi out.